Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster World, and today we're going to be talking about one of my previous builds, the Charged Elements build, which for those of you that are not aware, this was a build that I did for Charged Blades that focused on actually using elemental Charged Blades. And I know a lot of people are going to say, Rurikhan, but the Tyrannus is this and that and the other. Whatever, you want to use the Tyrannus, I have a build for that particular Charged Blade as well. It's called the Thud on the Table. If you want to go follow that, feel free to, but the point of this one was to try and focus as much as possible on elemental damage with the Charge Blade. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, the reason I'm doing an update for this is because I never really liked the way we left off the final Charge Blade build, because I kind of did a little bit of a change because I wasn't aware that artillery wasn't working for elemental files, and basically there was an issue with the first iteration that I did, and then I very quickly came up with a different version of it. But it's always been in the back of my mind, and I've always been tinkering around with it so that I could do a different version of that build. And naturally I've done one for pretty much every element, and I will be showing you all of the different variations. The one that you're watching in the background right now is most likely going to be the Thunder one, because in the past I've always shown the Fire one, and I figured I wanted to show something a little bit different. So let's get to it, shall we? And before you guys give me feedback on a specific thing, which is the Rathalos 2-piece set, because I know that a lot of people are going to say, Rurikhan, what about Critical Element from Rathalos 2-piece set? Why are you not using that thing? You should be using it because it makes your elemental hits crit. And first and foremost, the Critical Element thing does not actually make your elemental damage crit. What it does is it makes your elemental damage deal more damage when you crit with regular damage, okay? It's different from making your elemental damage crit, because basically critical boost is not going to influence your elemental damage per se, okay? So keep that thing in mind. The other thing is a user actually came to me during my live stream, and he told me that he was testing the critical element thing in my builds, and that it was actually only dealing 2 additional damage on top of all the other things that we were doing. And I was just like, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why, but basically, as far as I can tell, for Charged Blades, it seems that friggin' 2-piece Rathalos set is pretty damn useless. At least from my personal testing. If you have different results on your testing, feel free to share it in the comment section below, but that is the reason why we're not using Critical Element on this build. So, let's get started. So the weapon itself that you guys are seeing right here is the Kadachi Kaina 3, but like I said, I have a different build for each of the weapons, so you don't have to pay particular attention to this weapon. So let's move on for the actual main sections of the build. Dragon King Eye Patch Alpha, no-brainer. Weakness Exploit, level 2, straight up, keep it going, boom. Dobermail Beta, attack boost, because even though it is a build that focuses on using elemental Charge Blades, we still need a base strong attack, and therefore we're going to try and get as much attack boost as possible. Death Stench Grip in order to get the focus. Now the focus here basically makes it so that we do the double charge slash a little bit faster than normal. It's not too much, but it is a little bit faster, and it basically speeds up the build a little bit, and I like having it on this build. Then we got the Nergigante Coil Beta, which gives us another round of attack boost. That's pretty much no-brainer, attack boost for the win. Nergigante Greaves Beta, which is going to start us up with some maximum might, because we're going to use all the maximum might we can in this build, because once you position yourself with the Charge Blade, you're pretty much going to be at max stamina, and I want to have tons of crit, because that's one of the advantages of the Elemental Charge Blade, is that some of them actually have positive affinity, and you're going to be critting a lot. As a matter of fact, I think with 2 of the Charge Blades, you're going to be critting 100% of the time, so long as you're hitting monster weak spots, okay? And then finally, we have the Handicraft Charm, which is going to increase our Handicraft by 3, taking a lot of our Charge Blades to White Sharpness, which is going to be giving us additional damage. And we're also going to be using the Sharp Jewel, so that we can get that protective polish on our Charge Blade in order to continue inflicting as much damage as we possibly can. And on the Charge Blades that we can't get White Sharpness, I'm going to remove the Handicraft Charm and give you guys something else that you could put on there. Okay, so when it comes to decorations, you have Mighty Jewel level 2 on the Nergigante Greaves, Mighty Jewel level 2 on the Nergigante Coil, And then we have Bolt Jewel on the Death Stench Grip, as well as an additional attack Jewel, because it's going to be dealing a little bit more damage on the Death Stench Grip as well. Following up, we got the Dobermail Beta with a Sharp Jewel. Like I said, I love Protective Polish, and some of our blades are going to get to white sharpness, and you want to keep that white sharpness as long as possible, so you're going to have to sharpen up before you actually start the fight in order to get that Protective Polish effect. And on the Dragon King Eye Patch Alpha, we have the Tenderizer Jewel to max out our weakness exploit, and finally another Bolt Jewel on the weapon itself. Now this right here is going to take us, if not to the cap, I think this one might not be taking us to the cap of thunder damage, but pretty damn close as you would want to get without actually wasting too many points. So that is the basis of the build. You then look at the finalized stats on the build. You're going to be looking at Attack Boost 5, Weakness Exploit 3, Handicraft 3, Maximum Might Level 3, Thunder Attack Level 2, Focus Level 2, and Protective Polish Level 1. And as far as it comes to actually using Elemental Charge Blades, this, in my opinion, is the best build that I've come up with so far. Maybe some of you guys out there have better builds or something, but this was really to squeeze as much damage as I possibly could out of it. Now, you guys might be wondering, Rurikhan, what about when the monsters are roaring all over the place? I actually tend to use Rock Steady Mantle when I think that the monster's going to roar a whole bunch, which means every now and then I am going to be caught up with the roars, but I want it to really squeeze as much damage as possible. So now let's take a look at the different elements of the Charged Elements build, and I'll tell you guys the things that I've changed on each of the builds for each of the elements. So when it comes to the fire build, we're using the Albarion Blade. This is from the Rathalos tree, and the only thing that changes here is that instead of using Thunder Attack, you're going to be using Fire Attack. Everything else remains exactly the same, so just replace the Bolt Jewels with Blaze Jewels, and you're pretty much good to go. Then when you're looking at the water version of this build, we're using the Jura Depth 3, which is pretty much the Juratotus weapon. Now, the only difference here is, again, the elemental jewels. Instead of using Blaze or Bolt, we're using Stream Jewels. So just replace those jewels around, and you're pretty much good to go. Everything else remains the same. The main difference in this particular build is that the blade does not have as much affinity, so you're not going to be critting as often, but you're still going to be hitting the monster with their weak element, which is also valuable. Then when we get to the Frost build, this one differs a little bit from the previous ones, and the reason is with 3 Handicraft, we can't really get to white sharpness with our weapon, so there really isn't any value in putting Handicraft in this particular build, because we're going to be using the Sharp Jewel, which is going to maintain our sharpness through Protective Polish. So if we're going to be in blue sharpness, we might as well take advantage of that and go for something else. So what I did there is I exchanged the Handicraft charm for an attack charm level 3, and that maxes out our attack boost. And on top of it, because of the way the weapon has its different sockets, it actually has 2 level 2 slot decorations, and we're going to be putting 2 critical boosts on top of that, which is going to increase our damage whenever we happen to crit. Unfortunately, the weapon itself has a little bit less crit than the other weapons, but you're still looking at a crit rate at about 85 to 80%, okay? And finally, on the dragon version of this particular build, we have everything like we had on the previous ones. We're replacing the jewels of the element for dragon attack. We're back to using the Handicraft Charm level 3, and the only main difference here is that since the Azaka Speeda 2 has a level 2 decoration slot, I put a critical boost in there as well, and we lose 1 attack from the gems because I still wanted to get as much dragon attack as possible. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is all of the Charged Elements builds for every single element that you could possibly want. I also have a Blast build for Charge Blade, which I'm not sure if you guys are interested in checking out or not, because in my opinion, the Charge Blade is not the best thing to apply Blast, but it's still pretty damn good, and I actually like playing it. So let me know if you guys want to check that out. Let me know what you think of the updated Charged Elements build. Try it out for yourself. Trust me, it is worth it. It does tons of damage, and I know the Tyrannus is still gonna beat it out in raw damage, but just wait until the patch hits, and you'll see who's gonna be on top. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.